Welcome to Legacy Cast, where we talk about your story, your way, and what are you doing to make sure that people know about you many generations from now. Welcome, Legacy Cast listeners. This is your host, James Snow, and you're here with Legacy Cast, the program where we speak to very interesting individuals all around the world, and we hear from them the things that they're doing in their life so that they can create really a lasting story that lasts beyond many generations. That truly is what a legacy is and should be, is you telling your story your way so that other people know that not only that you lived, but what you cared about, what you were passionate about, what you involved yourself with, and most importantly, how you changed other people's lives. I have with me today Frazer Rice. He's my guest here and enjoying the island of Nantucket at the moment. He was telling me just before he came on, so I'm sitting here with much envy. But welcome to the program, Frazer.
Thank you very much, James. It's great to appear.
And as the name of the program implies, with Legacy Cast, we do talk about people's legacy, what they're doing, really. And so when you hear, Frazer, what about a legacy, what's the thing that comes to mind for you?
Sure. So maybe what I'll do is I'll give a quick little background on what I do. I tend to help wealthy clients, help them understand what their needs are and to plan their wealth so that they're able to do what they want to do in life. And as you say, talk about their legacy. One of the things that is usually on the forefront of many wealthy people's minds is what their legacy is going to be, what they're going to hand down to their kids, what they're going to do for their philanthropies and their charities, and how they want to be remembered going forward. So I spend a lot of time thinking about that and trying to make sure that they have the resources and the capabilities to do what they want to do on that front.
Sure. And we both, Frazer, are kind of in the same space in the financial sector. And so, what that means in a lot of ways, just, kind of giving your legacy some legs so that it has the way to carry forward whatever your wishes are. It's putting the vehicles in place that, are able to really give you the momentum behind that, as it were.
Right. And so one way to think about it for me anyway is for me to help people try to endow the causes that they support. At the minimum level, that can be talking about sort of endowing a trust or a structure that makes sure that the family is taken care of, spouse, kids, grandkids, and beyond. Other times, people want to endow a cause or a charity or a collection. Sometimes people have a collection of cars or horses or buildings or libraries or something like that they want to push forward well into the future beyond their lifetime.
Yeah, and it's important to mention that, many people, as you're mentioning the animals, for example, many people are very passionate about animals. They're dogs, cats, birds, horses, as you mentioned, different things of that sort. So, yeah. It's an area that a lot of people don't really think about is, what if, that proverbial what if.
Yeah, the imagination is really the only thing that limits you as it relates to what you want to endow or provide funding for. People try to set their pets up. They try to set up lots of other types of situations, whether it's related to collections, compounds, things like that, and we try to help out where possible.
Sure. So obviously, with what we're kind of discussing so far, you would say then it's an important consideration for people to really invest some serious mental energy and some emotional energy in kind of stepping away from their day-to-day grind and thinking about those considerations. What are they going to do and what should they do? Is that correct?
Absolutely. There's sort of two parts to it. I think the technical part, which I would describe as getting the money ready for the family, that's when you're doing a lot of estate planning, a lot of structuring, titling of assets, et cetera, sort of the dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Many times, though, that many of the things that you're trying to do when you implement those technical components, to do that without getting the family ready for the money, instead of getting the money ready for the family, sometimes you can really put yourself at cross purposes. And to invest the time to understand what the family's needs are, what your philanthropy's needs are, more importantly, to make sure that they understand why you're doing it, why you as a family are doing
Sure.
it, why you as a person are doing it. If you don't have that in place, sometimes you can set yourself up for future conflict, and all that good work that you do on the technical side can go awry.
Yeah, you're spot on, because it's something, especially when I'm sitting down with people, is I definitely want all family members that are going to have a say in the process to be present. Sometimes every time it really is, there's going to be that spouse needs to be there, but sometimes there's going to be bring the children in, because they have a vested interest in the overall scheme, because maybe they're in sports, or they're in music programs, or what have you. They have their extracurricular activities, which do have a bearing on what the overall picture looks like.
Absolutely. And I have a good exercise for that in a gentle way, especially if you're trying to get people to understand what philanthropic goals are like. If you have $4 and 3 kids, one thing that I think is an interesting exercise is to have each of the kids give $1, so that everyone has an understanding of what's important to them. And then that fourth dollar, to be able to have the kids give that jointly, meaning they have to get together and come up with a cause that they agree upon and give that money as a joint gift. Accomplishes a few things. Number one, you get the point of what's important to people individually, but then you also get some shared decision making and some idea of how the kids interact with each other. And then ultimately, when they make that donation, the kids know more about what they know about they know more about themselves, and then you know more about what makes them tick. And so as you're doing some of the other planning going forward, those are good data points for you to use, and the understanding of what you're doing from a legacy standpoint and some of the values you're trying to transmit, that should transfer to the kids as well. So now it's a useful sort of silly exercise, but it's not that silly. It actually transmits a lot of value, both downward to the kids and back upward to the parents.
And obviously that does need to begin at the house, because those things may or may not be taught in the school environment, and so those lessons need to come from the parents, because you can't guarantee it's coming from somewhere else. And so your values in that area, from what I've seen, those values should be determined by the parental structure.
No question about it. And from a parental structure, I think one thing that's useful in sort of putting together estate plans and money plans and so on, and when you're trying to effectuate the transfer of values to the next generation, it's important for the spouses to be on the same page on that front, so that you don't have mixed signals. And so that communication not only begins from the parents to the kids, but it's, between the parents and the parents. I agree with you. I think you can't rely on other systems to do that for you. You're just not around it enough, and you don't have enough control.
Oh, that's very true. Now, looking at it, since you are obviously a business person, if you're looking at your specific legacy, how would you correlate that into what you're doing from a business standpoint?
Well, I think the real key for me is, from the business standpoint, obviously like to make money, like to live well, try to do right by myself and set myself up to retire nicely and take care of the people that I care about. But what makes me get up in the morning, and what really is nice for me, is when I work with clients and I help them to transmit their legacies. In a sense, while I am sort of as charities in the way I give up my time and so on, by intersecting those types of values and helping my clients get where they want to go, I feel like I'm having a nice sort of geometric impact on people. If I can affect 5 or 10 or 20 or 70 families and help them push out their values a little bit further, that's a big legacy that I may never see in particular, but that is an impact that I can have. And if that intersects in a way that's good for business, that's doubly good, and it just sort of feeds upon itself.
Do you personally have children? And if so, are they looking at maybe wanting to take over your particular business, or are they looking in a different direction?
No kids. My sister has a 4-year-old niece and a recent nephew. He's only about 2 months old now. And so it's too early for them to go into the wealth management business, I think. I'd rather have them try out a bunch of other things. But what I did do when I wrote my book, which is called Wealth Actually, I dedicated it to my niece, and in a sense, all young people who are facing a lot of these issues. I tried to congeal a lot of what I've learned in wealth management and law and politics and some of my other parts of my background into one form, so that people could learn how to. Maybe they had a book that they could read that helped them think about wealth and how to make good decisions around it. And I'm hoping that that's part of the legacy I leave, is that I've got something tangible that people can read and they can get the benefit of my experience and hopefully avoid a lot of mistakes that either I've made or that I've seen made in my practice over the last 15 plus years.
Yeah, and as I always tell people, the best mistakes to learn from is somebody else's. So, by all means, listen to other people and have those mentors tell you what they did in the process. And in this case, reading a book like yours on Wealth Actually is learning from what your experience was, so that they don't have to necessarily have those same mistakes.
Somebody once said that reading books is terrific because you get one person's lifetime of experience in about 4 hours worth of reading. And if you read widely, you're getting a lot of different experiences, as you said, and if the books are good, and I hope mine is, and I hope other people's are as well. But if they're good, you're picking up good experiences, and you're able to the extent you can or want to, incorporate them in your life. And again, I talk about avoiding rookie mistakes, and if it gets you from A to Z a little bit faster and without much conflict or that many speed bumps, it just makes you that more efficient. You can go further into your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very true, very true. Now, if you're thinking about your business and its future, obviously you have more of a planning mindset because of being in the wealth management industry. But if you're thinking about its future, are there particular things that still keep you up at night, even though you do have the background of how to plan against those things?
Sure. Well, a lot of things keep me up at night about it. I think the first one in particular, I think the business model around wealth management is under significant review, generally speaking. I think that the costs are coming down in terms of investment implementation. Fidelity has just announced its first 0 basis point fee ETF for the world market. And so it's very difficult to fight free. So when you're in the wealth management space and you're charging a fee for planning and for advice and for service, you have to really provide that. And I think a lot of business models that really worked 10, 15, 20 years ago, those firms that still operate under those thoughts, I think that's under severe review. And I think the clients expect a lot, and rightfully so, for the dollar that they pay to an advisor. So, from a business model standpoint, I think that's something that keeps me up at night. The second one, and it doesn't keep me up at night personally, but I worry about it from an industry standpoint, is the word fiduciary. I come from a legal background. I was a lawyer, and so I'm used to the concept of you'd better do right by your clients, or it's going to end up really badly for you. The wealth management and the investment industry struggle with it, and that word means different things to different people. And ultimately, I think the really good advisors who put their clients' interests first are going to rise to the top. I think those that don't or strictly sell products, I think they're going to suffer longer term. And so I think the industry has to really come to grips with that word and get some real boundaries and guardrails around it, so that everyone's working from the same playbook.
Sure. And for our listeners, just to kind of, sum some of that jargon up, is effectively when you're looking for someone to work with, someone to be your trusted advisor, the answer to the question of, are you a fiduciary, should always be a yes. If they say that, then you know that you're going to be in a better position. And if they say no, then perhaps that's something you should consider.